Hey there, folks. Quick Slants is back. Parker Thune, Jesse Crittenden here with you on the OUinsider.com YouTube channel, taking a look at three compelling storylines heading into this weekend's action as Oklahoma gets ready to welcome Jackson Arnold back to town and host the Auburn Tigers this Saturday. Now, Jesse, the Sooners are 3-0. Auburn is 3-0. This is a matchup that nationally there will be a lot of eyes on. Perhaps not as much so as OU Michigan in week two when that was the only ranked matchup of the weekend. But this is a pivotal juncture for both of these teams early in the season, and obviously feels like a must win for Oklahoma, if for no other reason than if you lose to the guy that was formerly your starting quarterback, it's not going to be a fun week ahead on OU Twitter. A fun 2 weeks ahead, mind you, because Oklahoma has a bye on the other side of this Auburn matchup. But good news is the Sooners have plenty of ammunition heading into this contest. Namely, when you look at the backfield, true freshman Tory Blaylock, I would say, has outpaced expectations to this point in the 2025 season more than any other player on Oklahoma's roster. He was not on anybody's bingo card as a potential starter, lead back at any point in the 2025 season. In fact, I think most, including us, would have assumed he was going to redshirt, given the depth that there appeared to be, I guess, in Oklahoma's backfield. But lo and behold, Blaylock has a really strong fall camp, takes advantage of the non-conference opportunities that were presented to him over the first 3 games of the year, runs for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns against Temple. And now, heading into week 4, he is listed as the sole starter.
Shown up every day, been ultra consistent, done what's asked of him, have an unbelievable mindset, had a white belt mindset, in karate terms, always trying to learn and build upon what he's learned. He's been awesome in that regard, as has the entire running back room. But, Tory's just done a great job being consistent and running hard, making the plays, being assignment sound in his protection. So, proud of Tory.
I thought maybe the most poignant observation from Venables, and you didn't hear it there, Jesse, because it came after the game on Saturday, but he mentioned Tory Blaylock's not 100% healthy. He suffered a shoulder injury in the season opener, and he's been wearing a harness on that shoulder ever since. We're not looking at peak Tory Blaylock, but even so, the version of Tory Blaylock that we've seen thus far in 2025 has been really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, there were questions about whether he would play against Michigan or whether he would miss multiple weeks. That seemed very much in play too. And yeah, Parker, I mean, I think through 3 weeks, if you had guessed that Tory Blaylock would lead the entire backfield in carries, yards per attempt, touchdowns, snaps. I mean, I think it would have been hard for our preseason expectations for Jaden Ott to be the leader in all those categories, let alone it be Tory Blaylock as a true freshman. And Parker, I think more than anything, it's not only about him exceeding expectations, but it's in a crowded backfield with guys who are all older than him and have more experience and more proven production on the field that you can't take him off the field. And I think more than anything, it's also just to have that clarity. It's about understanding going into SEC play. You know who your number one running back is, and that's Tory Blaylock. It's a surprise. It's not something that a lot of people were expecting. But not only has he played that well, but I think this coaching staff knows that too, and that's an important bit of clarity. And to have that reflected on the top of the depth chart going into SEC play speaks a lot about how well he's played.
Ben Arbuckle said it following the Temple game. He trusts Tory Blaylock. Tory Blaylock has been able to cultivate a level of trust from the coaching staff, and that's part of what's enabled him to soar to RB1 status 4 games into his college career. Now, that said, you can't get by with just one back in the SEC, nor is that the plan. That's not something that Oklahoma is going to attempt. With Jaden Ott more or less out of the picture for one reason or another right now, it would seem that the other running back that is going to continue to demand a large percentage of the snaps out of the backfield is senior Javonte Barnes. Now, is he as dynamic a runner as Blaylock? Perhaps not, but as Arbuckle noted yesterday, Barnes does do all of the little things right.
Javonte's I mean, he is selfless, man. I think there's been 3 touchdowns this year, at least 2, where he's been the lead block and someone's scraping over the top really hard, running full speed, and he just throws their shoulder off into him and doesn't get knocked back, and honestly kind of knocks them back and springs someone open for a touchdown. It's stuff like that, guys, that shows how much you love your teammates. And Javonte loves his teammates. He loves that locker room. And the deal about running back, everyone always talks about carrying the ball. There's a lot of dirty work that goes into playing running back. I mean, almost like a tight end. Sometimes you're a glorified offensive lineman, and you doing your job in that moment can be the difference between a first down or an explosive play, or not taking a negative play, just doing your job in that moment. And Javonte exemplifies doing your job in the moments. And great teammate, hard worker, physical as can be. So, I mean, he's a great teammate. Honestly, the standard of what kind of a great teammate looks like. So Javonte's a stud.
Maybe he's not the sexiest option there in the backfield, Jesse, but Javonte Barnes has proven through 3 games that he can get the job done, particularly as a blocker for Oklahoma. Now, is he going to be a guy that averages 5-6 yards per carry? Probably not, but he can contribute as a receiver. He can help out in pass protection, and he's very well respected amongst his teammates and is considered a leader on the offensive side of the ball, no doubt.
He's one of the most loved guys on the entire team, either side of the ball. And I mean, he's been there since 2022. He's one of the very small handful of guys that have been around that long. And I think, Parker, it's about even adjusting expectations with Tory Blaylock being the RB1. I think it's just about adjusting expectations with Javonte Barnes. He's not going to be the explosive runner. And especially even when he started that first game against Illinois State, there was a wonder about what his workload would be, and given that he's not a very efficient runner. But Parker, it's not only about adjusting expectations for him, but they talk about clarity in the backfield through the first 3 games. They found the role for him. It's short term, or it's short yardage situations where you need a big back going between the tackles. It's in obvious pass protection situations where he can help out protecting John Mateer, or even go out in the flat, be a dump off option. It's just the one thing is they've figured out that his role is not the 20 carries per game explosive runner. That's not him. But to have his veteran presence on the field doing those little things, Parker, it's only ever going to be problematic if he is eating into Tory Blaylock's workload and still not being super productive, right? But if it's clear that Tory deserves the bulk of the carries and his workload is not getting eaten into by Javonte Barnes, they operate basically 2 different parts of this offense, and those 2 parts can not only coexist, but as you get into the meat of SEC play, you kind of need that different skill set. You need those guys doing different things. It's not reasonable to put that entire workload and everything that comes with being a running back on a true freshman's shoulders.
Now, 2 guys that are going to miss time for Oklahoma. One, of course, is Troy Everett, the backup center. He's done for the season after suffering a knee injury, as Brent Venables confirmed yesterday. The Sooners are also going to be without star defensive end R. Mason Thomas this weekend, at least for the first half of the Auburn game, after he was ejected in the 3rd quarter of the Temple matchup for targeting. So, with R. Mason Thomas out of the picture for the 1st and 2nd quarters of the Sooners' home tilt with the Tigers, that really puts the onus on one PJ Adebawore to step in and fill the void that Thomas leaves behind. PJ, of course, a former 5-star recruit who's made plays at times over the course of his career at Oklahoma, was hampered by injuries a season ago. But this is a prime opportunity for him to strut his stuff and to prove that he is that same guy that Oklahoma signed as a 5-star prospect out of North Kansas City High School in Missouri all the way back in the 2023 cycle. So, as we get ready to see what the starter version of PJ Adebawore looks like as he projects to get his first career start on Saturday, here's what Brent Venables had to say about PJ's progression at Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think he's a poster child for what development looks like, kind of like David Stone. I don't know what anybody thought of him last year or not. He's a much different player than he was a year ago, and PJ's a much different player than he was 2 years ago. He's battled, just some nagging different types of injuries. I know that's been well documented, but he's also developed a good, strong process that I think he's confident in, and he's got the discipline to get into that process a little more consistently, and his results are reflective of a better, more consistent process. Quit seeing too much, quit fidgeting, get your hand in the dirt, get your eyes where they belong, get your eyes, hands, and feet in the right places. Take all of the habits that you've created in practice and take them to game day. Not an easy thing to do, but he's doing it at a more consistent level, and now you're seeing him be trusted a little more by Coach Chavis, and then playing at a little more consistent level. And again, all of his best days are still in front of him, and we need him. We need a guy that's 6'5" and 270 pounds. It's got the kind of length that he does to be able to, be a disruptive, playmaker for us, and excited to see what is in front of him.
People tend to want microwave success, Jesse, especially when you're talking about a 5-star prospect like PJ was. But he got on the field a little bit as a true freshman. He was making something of an immediate impact. Injuries held him back. The inability to keep on to put on and keep on weight there for a little while held him back. Now, though, in his junior year, 6'4", north of 260 pounds, he's got such a unique ability to bend. He's so limber and so lengthy for somebody that is as big as he is. And if he is in peak form at any point for Oklahoma, ideally in 2025, he's a guy that can add a lot of value as a rotational contributor at the defensive end position.
Yeah, I kind of put him in the same category as Peyton Bowen coming into the season. I mean, both guys entering their third year, both guys really highly recruited 5-star guys, and both that have proven that when they're healthy, they have roles on the field. The problem is they haven't always been healthy. And in PJ's case, he missed 3 games last season, only played 118 snaps. Through 3 games this season, he has already played half the amount of snaps he played all of last season. And so when I asked Brent Venables about him specifically, but because this is kind of the thing, like you mentioned, everybody wants microwave success. It's not about coming out and immediately being a 5-star kind of impact player through your first couple of years, and especially in his case, he was injured. But this year, he's more healthy. He's found a consistent role, and now when you have someone like R. Mason Thomas out, this is a perfect opportunity for him to come out and have a big impact. Not only because of all of those, his athleticism, his length, but Parker, when you compare him to the rest of the room, he has more experience playing at OU than those guys. Even Taylor Wine, who's had a good start to the season. Danny Okoye, really talented second-year guy, didn't even travel with the team last week, wasn't available. This is a prime opportunity, opening conference play at home for someone like PJ with his talent, finally healthy in his third season. This is when you need that talent, when you need all of that development to kind of show out. This is the game to do it.
Huge game for Oklahoma this weekend as they look to move to 4-0 on this season. They've started 3-0 in each of Brent Venables' first 4 seasons as head coach at Oklahoma, but only once, 2023, have they started off 4-0. The 4th game of the season brought a loss for Oklahoma in both 2022 and 2024. So, can Oklahoma keep the odd year trend going, advance to 4-0, and set themselves up with Kent State looming on the other side of a bye week to go into the Cotton Bowl undefeated, potentially, on the second weekend of October? We shall see. We'll stay on top of it. We, of course, will keep you up to speed with everything you need to know in advance of this matchup for our members at OUinsider.com. If you're not subscribed over there, it's just $1 for your first week. Try it out. You don't like it, you don't have to stick around, but we tend to believe you'll have more than enough reasons to stay tapped in with us for all of your Oklahoma team and recruiting intel. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you later in the week as we continue to count down to Oklahoma Auburn at Owen Field.